You're listening to a 3CR podcast recorded in the 3CR Community Radio studio in Melbourne, Australia. If you like what you hear, please consider donating or subscribing so we can keep bringing you more independent community content. For more information, go to 3cr.org.au.
Slavery is back.
Welcome to a place where private business profit from a captive labour force, yet pennies are spent on medical services to a population in which the Indigenous, the poor and the mentally ill are overrepresented. Where isolation, humiliation and degradation are facts of life. Welcome to prison.
It depends who's telling the story, I suppose. The prisoners would have one view, the people who work in the prison system would have another, and I think it's up to people to decide where the truth is.
Give government propaganda and the media spin doctors the flick. And check out Doin Time for news, views and tunes on prison issues from Guantanamo Bay to Christmas Island to prisons and detention centres everywhere. Every Monday at 4 p.m. on your community radio 3CR.
We are still fired up and we're still talking about revolution.
Hello and welcome to the Doin Time show. This is 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. This episode of Doin Time may contain audio images of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have died. First up on the show, we're going to be speaking with David Glantz from the Refugee Action Collective. And David has come onto our show many times, and we've often done quite extensive coverage about refugees and asylum seekers. So he will be coming for our usual update to talk about various things. I'm hoping to do an extended interview. So the major issues in refugee campaigning currently are Labor's deportation bill, which David will talk about. And despite pushback from pretty much everybody, Labor is still trying to pass the bill. And they put it on the order paper for the Senate last Thursday, or a couple of weeks ago, but interestingly didn't go ahead with the item, implying they knew they still didn't have the numbers. And Parliament's on a break as well. David will also talk about a speak out that's coming up in July as well. And he will talk about the horrors of the Manus Island and Nauru detention centres, including the murder of Reza Barati and children on Nauru developing resignation syndrome. Quite a few things. The refugee movement has been really busy, and they've also won a couple of victories. Hello, David. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Good afternoon, David. Yeah, it's 3CR's just got new headphones and they're really fantastic, but they're a bit weird. So bear with me.
That's okay.
Can you hear me?
I'm fantastic, but a bit weird too. So it'll work.
It will work indeed. So, David, tell me about what's going on with the refugee movement. I believe that the movement has won 2 victories. Can you talk about that?
Well, the victories are ones that we've won over time. I wouldn't pretend we've won victories like in recent days. The victories are important because they show that a serious attempt to mobilise and protest by refugees and asylum seekers and all of us who are supporting them can have an impact. So the big victories over time have been getting children and their parents off the island of Nauru. And for something like a year, the detention centre there was empty, which it's not the case now, but it was empty for quite some time. So that was one big win we chalked up over the years. The other one was getting the Medivac refugees, so the refugees who were held either in Papua New Guinea or on Nauru but were suffering physical or mental illness, getting them brought here. They were locked up in hotels for the best part of 2 years, and we managed to get them free. So those are, I think, 2 big victories. I suppose a third one, actually, I'd throw into the mix, is forcing the Labor government, which has a shocking record in the past and currently, but forcing them to accept that something like 19,000 people who have been on temporary protection visas or safe haven enterprise visas should be brought in to permanent residency. So I think that's another win we can chalk up. Not just Refugee Action Collective, of course, but lots of people have been campaigning on these issues. But when we highlight the wins, it really underscores how we still have some very big problems ahead of us. And there's been some bastardry by the current Labor government. So one of those, as you mentioned in your introduction, was to bring in a deportation bill, which would have said anybody on a bridging visa or currently in the country with no visa, and there are people in that situation through no fault of their own, if the government told them to leave the country and to collaborate in their deportation, if they don't collaborate, they could be put in jail for a mandatory minimum of 1 year and potentially fined up to, I think, $93,000.
Yeah.
Or they would face being deported back to the countries from which they fled. No one gets on a boat or a plane, for that matter, and goes to a completely strange country for fun. They do that because they're running away from danger. So Labor basically sets thousands of asylum seekers and refugees in this country up for a choice between deportation to danger and maybe death, or going into an Australian jail as a criminal. And the law, or the bill, because it's not a law, thankfully, the bill also would give the immigration minister the right to essentially cancel visas, change people's visa status, but also to say that if a country did not collaborate with people being deported to it, the minister could pretty much wipe out all visas for people from that country. So concretely, for instance, Iran does not take people being deported from Australia. This bill would give the minister the authority pretty much to not grant visas to Iranians to come to this country. That could be to study, it could be to meet family members, it could be to carry out business. The bill is a horrendous overreach. It was rejected by everybody in the Senate. And as you said in your introduction, Labor tried a second time to bring it in. They didn't even bother raising the business on the floor of the Senate. They knew they had no support. And we and many, many other organisations have said this bill should simply be dumped. It should be killed off. It is a dog of a bill. Should never have come to Parliament. It is draconian, cruel and racist, and puts people who are innocent in terrible danger. And look, if they bring it back again after their very luxurious 5-week winter break, we'll be on the streets again against them. But really, I think everybody here who has any access to Labor ministers or Labor MPs should be, really in their ear over this one.
So essentially, the bill is really more about travel bans and also cancelling visas. Is that right?
Well, both of those are an element of it, an important element. But the core element is if, say, someone who came here as a medevac refugee, say, take Moz, who people know as a painter and artist and so on, is a very loved figure who got a portrait in the Archibald exhibition up in Sydney for the second time. Very talented man. He could be told under this bill, you need to go back to Iran, even though you are a Kurd, even though you have been persecuted there for your ethnicity and your political beliefs. Basically, get yourself on a plane and go back to Iran. And if you don't, you will go to jail, guaranteed for a mandatory minimum of 1 year. And that threat is being held over the heads of different people, cite different numbers, but possibly more than 30,000 people living in the community. Now, the bill came about because the government panicked because the court said that some people who were being held in detention should be let free into the community, and a few of them committed crimes, and Peter Dutton and Murdoch media came down on the government like a ton of bricks. The government panicked and brought in a law, or brought in a bill, to be more precise, brought in a bill that wouldn't just deal with that problem, but would actually put tens of thousands of people at risk. It is shameful that this is what a knee-jerk reaction piece of legislation is from Labor.
It sounds extremely draconian and a gross violation of human rights.
You are 100% correct.
So we better keep an eye on that bill, and certainly the Doin Time show will be watching that bill very, very carefully, and it hasn't gone through as yet, so we'll talk about that on an ongoing basis. But Friday the 19th of July is the 11th anniversary of Kevin Rudd declaring that those arriving by boat to seek asylum would never ever settle in Australia. Can you talk about that and also talk about the Speak Out?
Yeah, for sure. Well, 11 years ago, most people have forgotten what they were doing 11 years ago. Kevin Rudd's gone on from Prime Minister to now being the ambassador in Washington and having the time of his life, I'm sure, in the United States. But there are thousands of people whose lives have been ruined by that decision he made as Prime Minister. And by the way, a man called Anthony Albanese was his Deputy Prime Minister when this decision was made. So again, it's panic by a Labor government under pressure but from the media and the Liberals, because a few thousand people were risking their lives and trying to get to this country by boat. And Rudd brought down the hammer and said, 19th of July onwards, so exactly 11 years ago, this coming Friday, if you arrive by boat, you will never, ever be settled here. That meant people got sent to Nauru in the middle of the South Pacific and put in a detention centre, or they got sent to the detention centre on Manus Island, which is part of Papua New Guinea. Some people committed suicide. Some people basically were psychologically wrecked. Some people died from preventable disease. Some children developed what has been called resignation syndrome, where they felt absolutely no future, and they ceased to interact with the world, including their families and the people around them. Huge human damage. The irony of it is some of the people who are being potentially threatened with deportation are some of the people who were sent offshore by Kevin Rudd that came here for one reason or another and are currently living on precarious temporary visas in this country. So it's been a horrendous outcome, and we shouldn't forget that at least one person was murdered as a consequence of Kevin Rudd's policy, and that was Reza Barati, who was murdered almost certainly by locals with at least the passive connivance of PNG police and security people paid for by the Australian government. He was murdered in the detention centre on Manus Island, which eventually the Papua New Guinea High Court ruled was unconstitutional. It has been shut down. But its final victims, and the numbers are a bit fluid, but its final victims are still living in Port Moresby, which is the capital of Papua New Guinea. There's about, I think from memory, about 30 men. Some of them now have wives and partners and children. So there's about 80 to 90 people who are affected by Australia's refusal to ever allow people to come here, even if they are 110% genuine refugees. One of the last acts of the Morrison government was to cut off financial support for the people in Port Moresby. They've been living on charity for the last couple of years. Labor looks like it's now going to make a small amount of money available. But these are people who have suffered enormously. They've been locked up in one shape or form for 11 years by the Australian government for the crime of running for their lives. And we say offshore detention should be abolished, mandatory detention should be abolished. All these people should be brought to Australia and given permanent visas and the support they need to rebuild their lives. They've had a huge part of their life ripped away from them by the likes of Kevin Rudd, Tony Abbott, Scott Morrison, and now by Andrew Giles. And that's why we'll be protesting on Friday at 5 o'clock onwards at the corner of the Burke Street Mall and Swanston Street. And we'll have a speak out. It will be an open mic, so if you are a person of good heart and want to come along and say a few words about why you think the refugees should be given permanent visas and made to be made welcome here in this country, you're welcome to come along. If you just want to come along and be there and be part of it, we welcome you too. So on the corner of the Burke Street Mall and Swanston Street at 5 o'clock on Friday, and we'll be speaking out for refugees who in some cases are no longer able to speak out for themselves.
Quite a lot to digest, and I wanted you to come on for the regular update, David, because it really is terribly important. The Doin Time show actually did an interview some months ago now with some women from Iran, some refugees who were at Claire O'Neill's office, I believe.
Yeah.
How is that going? How's that campaign going?
Well, I'm pretty much assuming those women were part of a campaign called 12,000 Captive Souls.
That's the one?
Yeah, not exclusively, but primarily Iranian refugees and asylum seekers. They've staged multiple protests. And I don't mean, when I say protests, I don't mean an hour here or an hour there.
No, this was
Often,
all day.
At one point, 3 weeks in a row, they protested every single day, and they've been back since for still quite lengthy spells, 5 days or 3 days. These are the people who are at risk of deportation or jailing. The women you interviewed are people who, under the deportation bill, could be told to go back to Iran, which maybe is impossible and certainly is dangerous. And if they refuse to participate, they would be thrown into jail. There's no, the law, the bill rather, because it's not law yet, but the bill gives no wriggle room. There's no leniency. If they said, no, I refuse to organise my flight back to Iran because I will be murdered or thrown in jail or tortured, then you will go to jail under Labour's bill. And the flip side of that is many of those women not only will they have lived in this country for 10 or 11 years, or they will have been on Nauru and then come here maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Some of them will have come here with children who've grown up here. Some of them will have had children who were born in Australia. Those children, if they came here with their parents, can be deported. The children who were born here theoretically could be separated from their parents. Talk about Sophie's choice.
That's exactly right, David. Thank you for giving us that live example. We're going to have to conclude really soon. Just tell us, if you can, David, for listeners, the details of the speak out and who and what speakers will be there and when.
Okay, the speak out is for permanent visas for all. It's this coming Friday. It's 5 o'clock at the corner of the Burke Street Mall and Swanston Street. We are inviting speakers from different refugee communities like the Iranian women you mentioned, but we will also encourage anyone who wants to step up and speak out on this issue to say a few words as well.
David, thank you so much for coming onto the program. Are there any other final comments? And you've actually summarised quite a few points about what's going on, but are there any final comments you want to make?
All I would say is if all of this sounds horrendous and you want to know more, Refugee Action Collective meets every Monday night, 6:30 in Carlton. Go to our Facebook page. You can either attend in person or online, and we always welcome new people to get involved and fight for refugee rights.
Lovely, although we've lost Chris Breen, haven't we, to Brisbane or Sydney?
Sydney. We've lost him to Sydney, but he's doing good work up there.
Fantastic.
The refugee movement is thankfully not a one-person band.
Of course not.
Yeah.
David, it was lovely to have you on the show, and I'm sure we'll be having you back.
Thank you for your time.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And that was David Glantz from the Refugee Action Collective, and he was speaking about refugees and asylum seekers and also looking at an upcoming Speak Out happening in July. Now, I'm going to be playing a song shortly by Archie Roach, and it's called Child Was Born Here. And I believe we're going to be having an interview next with some Aboriginal women from Bendigo giving a report on NAIDOC. But there'll be more soon. Stay tuned.
Careful when you walk through this land, because a child was born here, and a child was born there. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 yeah. Stains of blood and water come from the mothers for the son, and it ordered, and it orders on the mountain and the valley down below, across the open plain to the sea, the rivers and desert and the rainforest so green, I can see nativity. Rebecca rocked in the ashes by the pillar bone where she was born, so that she will return. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Should I walk softly in a garden of children, or scream like a madman and go rushing in? No, I remember all the mothers who lay and went through the suffering when new life begins. So now, be careful when you walk through this land, because a child was born here, and a child was born there. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 yeah. Yeah, can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it in your heart? That the child was born here, and the child was born there. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 yeah.
Do you want to come and take a look inside 3CR?
Curious to see our studios and where your favourite radio program is produced? On Saturday, July 27th, 3CR is running tours as part of Melbourne Open House 2024. The 45-minute tours will take you right through the station and into the studios, as well as provide history and details of our current programming and projects. Come take a look. To register, head to openhousemelbourne.org and search for 3CR. Melbourne Open House at 3CR, Saturday the 27th of July. See you then.
Stand in solidarity with Palestine this Sunday.
Hi, it's Nasser Mashni from Palestine Remembered, Australia's only dedicated show on Palestine. Join me every Saturday morning at 9:30 and very importantly, get along to our rallies. Sunday, 12 o'clock, State Library. Join us.
We have to mobilise to show our support for Palestine. 12 p.m, State Library, this Sunday.
Rally to demand freedom and justice for Palestine. No war on Gaza.
Free Palestine Melbourne is a 3CR supporter.
Has Centrelink made a decision you disagree with? Most Centrelink decisions can be appealed up to 3 times. Examples of decisions you can appeal include whether you're eligible for a payment, cancellation or suspension of your payment, how much you get paid, and Centrelink debts. One of the most common Centrelink decisions appealed are Centrelink debts. Centrelink will say you owe a debt if the staff determine you've been paid more than you should have. Debts can occur for a variety of reasons. In some instances, if there's been an administrative error or if you have special circumstances, you may not have to repay that debt. The appeal process is free, but time limits can apply and will affect your entitlement to back payment. Social Security Rights Victoria is a specialist community legal centre providing Victorians free advice to help you understand your Centrelink issues and the appeal processes. You can contact Social Security Rights Victoria on 9481 0355 or online at ssrv.org.au. The Federation of Community Legal Centres is a 3CR supporter.
And in case you've just tuned in, this is the Doin Time show, and you're about to hear an interview. I'm delighted to introduce Auntie Lynn Warren, a Yorta Yorta woman and chairperson of the Bendigo NAIDOC committee. But before we actually speak to Auntie, I just wanted to, in case new listeners have just tuned in, that the Doin Time show is a safe environment where people from all cultures and all communities can come together and talk about what concerns them. And we also concentrate a lot on building the movement to stop Aboriginal deaths in custody. And we also look at interviewing women in prison and out of prison as well. So last week, I brought you a NAIDOC special, which looked at the history of NAIDOC and also looked at some NAIDOC events that were being held, and more importantly, we looked at different viewpoints about NAIDOC Week. Some people are not into it, and some people also see it as something that they don't celebrate because of so many atrocities that have happened over many, many years since 1788, and some people embraced it. And today I'm going to be speaking with Auntie Lynn from Bendigo, because it's always good to look at regional Australia as well. And I wanted to talk to Auntie as well. Hello, Auntie Lynn. Welcome to the program.
Hello, love. How are you?
Good. Not bad. And yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Settling down after the hectic time we had, but it was a beautiful NAIDOC week.
It's so lovely to have you. So you're a proud Yorta Yorta woman and chairperson of the Bendigo NAIDOC committee. Is there anything else you wanted to add to your introduction?
I'm Wamba as well, Swan Hill. My great-grandmother was Wamba.
Oh, in Swan Hill?
Yep.
Oh, we can't forget her.
Nah.
So, Auntie,
Morgan.
That's right. So, would you be able to talk to us about, have a bit of a yarn about NAIDOC and what happened and what you think about NAIDOC Week and the history of it?
Well, I think NAIDOC Week is really great because it's bringing all our mob together, but not just the Aboriginal people, because we have a NAIDOC committee and a general committee, and the general committee is made up of more or less mainstream people from different organisations, and they throw it all in, they really do. And even with our sponsors, you know, because a lot of people say it should be all Aboriginal, and I said, hey, look, if we did that, we'd have no sponsors or anything. And I said, you know, a long time ago we had a theme, walk together, and that's what I believe in. So it's been really, really good. And the theme this year has been so good. Keep the fire burning, loud, proud and black. And that's pretty much me, proud and loud.
Wow.
But the NAIDOC's really good. It had something for everybody. You know, the adults, we had the flag raising at the DAC on the Friday, which was sensational. And even our CEO, Dallas, he couldn't believe it that night we were at the ball, and he said, I couldn't believe so many people were coming because it was a beautiful day and we had the biggest mob there, and it was really good of everybody.
That's fantastic. So you're saying that everybody should be involved, not just First Nations people?
That's right, yes. Because they've even got things happening in the schools around Bendigo now, which is involving the young ones to learn about the Aboriginal culture, and the mainstream kids want to be involved too. And I thought, well, that's a good beginning, because if kids can do it, everybody should be able to.
Auntie, why is it, do you think, that some people just want Aboriginal people? Is it because of the hurt that they've experienced, or what is it, do you think? Why is there so much division?
I'm not really sure on that, because I've got a lot of views on it, but I've never been like racist, never, because I didn't find out I was Aboriginal till 1993 when I learnt my mum had passed away. I didn't know her, and I've never grown up. I've never ever been racist, and I even brought my kids up the same way. And I don't know. Some people have got their funny ideas, but I said at the end of the day, we all come together, and you look back at the week, it was just absolutely amazing.
I'm really happy.
Everyone was involved, yeah.
So, Auntie, can you tell us a little bit about how you found out that you were Aboriginal?
I was living in South Australia at the time, just with my my two sons and a daughter, and he lived next door, and he'd done a heck of a lot of things in the past, but I sort of, back then I was forgive and forget. But then he went to Melbourne to pick up my eldest daughter, Michelle, to bring her back up there. She wanted to live up in Peterborough. And he rings me up to say that they'd arrived safe. And he said, oh, by the way, he said, I've got some news. I said, what? He said, your mother's dead. That's the exact words. And I said, what? And so I said, put Michelle back on, and I got hold of this lady. And I grew up here in Bendigo, and the Yorta's just over in Echuca. And they were all looking for me. It was my mum's birthday. And they said, yeah, we'll find her. But no, it didn't happen. And I remarried, and my late hubby, he was from South Australia, beautiful man. And he said, no, we've got to take you back to Bendigo so you can get with your mob. And, yes, we did, and the rest is history, actually.
That's fantastic.
For a long time I was pretty angry and that, but then I watched dear Archie Roach do a program on NAIDOC this 1 year, and it had been done in a big one but been brought down, and it was them talking about with Archie how they get back to their mob. And I listened to it and I really took it in, and I said next day to Ross, I said, I'm going down to see the Centrelink girl, Sue Ellen Gabe. She was the Aboriginal Koori liaison at Centrelink, and I went down and I talked to her and I said, I need to do something because I'm no good at sitting at home doing nothing. Well, yeah, since then, I mean, everything that opens and shuts, actually, for our people. You know, I work in the prisons, and it's just really good being out there helping someone, or even just sitting down and talking with somebody. And it's that's who I am. I don't hold grudges. I just completely wiped my father out of my life. It was easy to do that, you know, and back at home here, unbelievable.
So,
and the places I've been to, yeah.
Wow. So that's really good that you're doing some work in the prisons.
Oh, yeah. It's down at Loddon, Middleton and Tarrangower, the women's prison. And I go down there a couple of times a month and just sit with the guys and talk. We're going down again next week to have a NAIDOC one. So that'll be really, really good. And I'm also an elder on the Koori Courts here in Bendigo. I've been to one session. I thought I was going down for a cup of tea. And I get down there and the lady says, I'll meet you outside. I said, you're right. She takes me in. I said, where's you going? She said, we're nearly there. And all of a sudden we come to this big door. And I said, what's in there? I said, don't you dare tell me it's court. And it was, hey. Wow. And they'd only just started. And look, it was the best experience I could have ever had. The judge was above and beyond. It was just sensational. So, yeah.
So you were sitting there supporting the Aboriginal people that were going to court?
Yes, because they were, and the way they treat people, doesn't matter whether young people or older people, they're just so good. They've got a chap there that works at the co-op, Gordon, and he has all these places where they can get support. And, you know, just hearing, and then they'd be talking about it, and then she'd say, okay, Arby, you put your piece in. And, yeah, it was just really, really good.
Well, it's good to hear that there's positives happening as well.
Oh, yeah. It's a real good attitude. And the judge made us all smile. She was talking to this young woman and she's given her all the support in the world. And then she said, now you've done really well and you've got all this support in place. And the young woman's going, yes. She said, but I've got something to say. And I thought, hello. And she said, if you come back again, I won't be as nice. And when it was finished and we were sitting down having a coffee, she said, you really looked at me when I said that, didn't you? And I said, well, if that doesn't pull someone up, nothing will. You know, but it was really good. They don't talk about the people that, oh, yeah, you've done this, rah-rah, you shouldn't do this. They talk with them, and it's just better. A really beautiful way they do it.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, Auntie, just to piece everything together, and you don't have to answer, if you don't want to answer anything, just tell me.
Yeah.
So, when you say, so your mum passed away.
Yes.
So your mum was Aboriginal.
Yes.
But you didn't live with your mum growing up?
No, my father took me away from mum when I was only little.
And did he know that she was Aboriginal?
Yes, he did.
So he kept that from you?
Yep.
So when your father took you away, where did you go?
I got left with his mum, my grandmother, down in Bendigo.
And so he kept you in ignorance all that time?
Yep.
And then mob started looking for you and they couldn't find you?
That's right, yep. And since then I've found out I've got my elder sister, Diane, we connected straight away because the lady that told me, Karen, I said, we've just been in touch with my sister. She said, no, but you're Auntie Melba Wildine, and that's Auntie Melba Johnson. I don't know if you ever heard of her, but she was Mum's sister,
right?
A very hard worker in Echuca. And I said, oh, well, I'll ring my sister up. I said, what have I got to lose? And, yeah, she's a mountain of information, that one. And then just before the COVID struck really bad, like people are isolated, a lady from Link Up rang me and she said, I need to come up to see Aunt. And I said, yeah. She said, I want to take you over to your sister Glenda and Shep. I said, yep. And she said, because we're taking you back to country, all of us. See, I've got 4 sisters and 1 brother. And, hang on, no, I haven't, 3 sisters.
Yep.
Building my family up.
That's all right.
3 sisters and a brother. And I said, well, when are you coming up? she said, tomorrow. I said, oh, thanks for the long warning. And I said, no, that's fine. So they took us over to Echuca. We stayed over there for 3 nights. And then we went out, Uncle Colin Walker, he's the curator of Cumragunja, where Mum's laid to rest. And he took us to the school where Mum went to and all the different places. And then we went out to Cumragunja. And it was really good because they all came and met me when I first, except Glenda, I didn't get to see her first. But Carol and Robert come up to see me. But it was really good because we were all together and we were all going through the same thing. And, yeah, it's just we've just grown from that.
There's just so many stories, isn't there, Auntie?
Yes, there is.
So I just can't.
No,
your father deliberately took you away from your mother when you were little, and you lived with your grandmother all that time.
Yep.
And he never told you that you were Aboriginal and you weren't allowed to see your mum.
He just said, I asked him about it one day. He said, oh, she's no good. She didn't want you. And back then I didn't have any reason to doubt him. But geez, after I'd been talking to my auntie Melba, I said, when I go back home to Peterborough, I said, I don't care who I see, but I said, he won't come. And he did. And I said, why didn't you tell me about Mum? And he said, you had a bad car accident. You've forgotten everything. I said, hang on a minute. If I forgot everything, how do I know my kids when I come out of hospital? And he was really quiet. And anyway, I said, look, you better go. I don't want you in the house. Not now, not ever. And he said, oh, you'll cool down. I said, don't count on it. And then as he's walking out the door, he said, I've only got one thing to say. He said, your mother was nothing but trash. And I said, if you don't walk out of this yard, you'll need to be carried out. And we used to have a gate between the two houses. So all the young fellows, they put that up. And poor Rossi was in the shower for so long because he had to come back through the kitchen. And he went to the railways. He was up in Broken Hill. He used to work up there for a week. And he came home on a Friday and he said, we're selling up. I said, we are? And he said, yeah, I'm taking you out of here. And I said, oh. And I was a little bit puzzled. And he said, because one day I'm going to get a phone call from the cops to say you're in the lockup. And I said, yeah. And he said, no, I've got to take you back home. And I goes, well, what about your family? Because you've got a beautiful big family. But they all told me that brother was with them all their life and we can come over and see you guys, which they did, and yeah.
So where is your country then, Auntie?
Yorta.
So are you on it now?
No, I'm in Jaja Rung place. I'm in Bendigo.
Okay, so all right. So you actually live on Yorta country?
No, I live on Jaja Rung country.
I get it. Okay.
Yep.
That's
good. And I'm very close with that organisation too, because a couple of the elders in that, I'm related to them.
So
every
you
time
can
come home from something, I'd say to Ross, guess what? And in the end, he knew. Yeah, you met someone, didn't you? And I said,
wow. So you can go back home now anytime you like and see your sister and your relatives.
Yep.
So your sister then, she stayed with your mum?
No, she went with her father.
Okay.
I had a different father to me.
Yep.
But they were all couldn't believe what was going on, what had happened. And when I came back, so I got in touch with them all and told them, because they knew about me, because all of them knew each other, but they didn't know where I was. And, they were so beautiful when I met them all. I got heaps of photos of them, and, yeah. And that's something that keeps me going, because I love what I do in my work, because it just makes me feel that I'm helping somebody else that could be going through a bad time. And, and I always say to people, if you want to talk, I can hear you. I'm a good listener. But I said, I don't go and repeat things you tell me.
Same.
And, I said, and that's where it's all built up from. That's what I love.
That's exactly right. And at least now you can see your mum's family, can't you now?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Did you get to hear about your mum and what she was like from your family?
Oh, yeah, they told me about Mum. Because when I first met my auntie, she was waiting outside the door because I said, we're on our way, we're nearly there. And she said, oh, my God. And I goes, what? I just saw Wilma walking up the drive. I said, oh, really? And they said, every one of them said, yeah, you're your mother to a T.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's sad on certain times, like Sorry Day, that's pretty hard to take. And I used to be really hard to listen to the song, They Took the Children Away.
Yeah.
Well, last Monday on the 8th, we had a photography recognition of our elders, and there was photos go up there and from past ones and now that are still here. And we had beautiful guy Uncle Paul playing the didge all the way through, and he was amazing. Well, then they showed the video, and it was Archie and Ruby when they were young and how they survived. And it was As the Rivers Run, I think it's called.
Yep.
And it was beautiful. And he sang all these different songs. Well, you know the song he sang, Took the Children Away?
Yep.
He never believed, he said he never believed that song would go anywhere because he got a real shock when he was told that how it's gone. But their movie was just, it was just so beautiful. It really, really was.
I think that today is a really special day on the Doin Time show because you're here, Auntie, and you've shared your story, and I'm really happy that you're here.
Oh, thank you so much. So where's your radio station?
The radio station is in Melbourne in Fitzroy, and it's 3CR Community Radio. You might want to listen. And
yeah, right.
we have a lot of really good shows here, and even
wow.
Yeah, and we like to hear people's stories. It's really important.
Yep, I've told a few of them. I've spoken about my journey to a lot of different places at schools and things like that, and as well as adults. And, yeah. So.
And I imagine that you'd be a guide for the younger people too.
I like to be, yeah, to let them know that they've got someone that they can contact and if they want to talk, and we can go, because I just say to them, I can't change everything, but I can give you support. And, yeah, but that's all those things keep me going, they really do.
So I'm hoping then that you can go back often to your country and be with your family.
Yep. Well, I had a really big deal a couple of months ago because I'm on the RAJAC, the Regional Aboriginal Justice Advisory Committee, and I'm chairperson of the RAJAC in Bendigo. Anyway, we went over to Echuca to have our meeting, and one of the elders, she said, "Who's from here?" And the chap to Russell, he said, "This is our country." And I'll tell you what, I felt so damn proud doing a welcome to country on my mum's land. It was amazing. I do a lot of them around Bendigo, but to do it on my own land, it was amazing. It really was.
How did you feel, honestly, when you discovered your country?
Oh, I was wrapped. It was. I said to Ross, I said, "This has been a journey. It's been painful, but I've found a beautiful family, and they're all over the place. They're the biggest mob everywhere, eh? And it's just so good to be able to say, like you hear other people say about their sisters and all this, and I thought, well, it's just me, but now I know I've got a bigger mob, and it's beautiful. The anger and the hurt will never go away, but the way I deal with it is being able to connect with other people and help them with their journey, and to me, that's so special.
It is, and that's fantastic that you can speak. You're in touch with your sister now.
Oh, yeah, Glenda. And she wanted me to go up to Tamworth quite a few years ago. They gave the Country Music Festival. And 2 years running, they said, come on. And so the next year, I rang my niece up and I said, Christy, and said, yeah. I said, I'm coming up to Tamworth with you. You could hear her. I said, you want us to tell your mum she'll hear you from here. And it was beautiful. We had 2 years in concession going up there before COVID come in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's been a lot. It's been a beautiful journey. you know, and I know Mum's with me all the time.
Of course she is.
I had a photo of her, and I took it. I went to TAFE for 10 years, the Koori TAFE, and we got into doing portraits, and we had a lovely lady that taught us the things, and I did all different ones, and I took Mum's photo in, and she really helped us really good because she wouldn't just say, draw it like this. She'd draw the nose and all that, the eyes, and then tell you how to do it. Anyway, I was doing the hair because Mum had curly hair, and she said, hang on, I've got to go and answer the phone, and she said, I'll be with you in a minute. She come back, and she said, oh, my goodness me, look at you. And I said, yeah, a little bit proud here, eh?
Yeah.
So I got a copy for all the family and gave them all one, and, yeah, they were really stoked, eh?
That's fantastic. So do you know much about your mum, like her life?
A little bit of it, yeah. Auntie Melba told me a little bit, and she had a bit of a rough time with men. None of them could sort of treat her right, you know. And I said, yeah. And but she said she loved working in different, and she was a very staunch Anzac Day. She went to every Anzac march in Melbourne.
Wow.
And the day we lost her was on Anzac Day.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, my flipping God, yeah. But Auntie Melba said, no, she'd get out and she'd march up the street with everybody. And she was amazing.
Auntie, this is good.
I know she's here, yeah.
She's here with you now.
She's right, she is. She's probably saying, what the hell's she on about?
Thank you so much for coming onto the program, and I'm going to try and get a copy to you to listen to, and we'll work that out. Is there anything else you wanted to tell me or to say to listeners before we go?
Well, just tell anyone if they've been going through the same sort of thing, looking for someone, there are places that you can go, like to your local co-op, and talk to them. And even if at some stage someone wanted to reach out to me, I'd be more than happy to talk to them.
Okay. So do you want people to ring 3CR and then we'll reach out through that?
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. I'd like to have you on to our show again at some stage. Would you be into that?
Yes.
Because it would be really good to support our Aboriginal brothers and sisters and all brothers and sisters inside, really.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I love going into the so much, because I had a bad fall last year and broke my hip, and I was out of action for a while.
Oh.
And when I went back, the guys they went crazy. They said, "Oh my God, you didn't leave us." And I said, "Never."
Oh.
And it's just like a family. I love them all because I said there's someone's son or father or brother, you know. And the way I see it, we're all connected, one way or the other.
I'm surprised they let you into the prison. Do they let people in there, huh?
Yeah, because I work for a place in Melbourne called Asylum.
Okay.
And they go into the prisons. They have people going into the prisons and working in there, and they are the most beautiful people you could ever come across.
Fantastic.
Really lovely, yep. And it's I love it. I've been doing it for about 6 years now, and it's just something I look forward to. And because since I broke my hip, I'd only have to walk as far as my front gate. They come and pick me up.
Good.
So I get a little bit spoiled.
Nah, it's fantastic. Thank you so much, Auntie Lynn. We'll be in touch.
All right then, darling. Lovely to talk to you. Thanks so much.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I was so moved by that interview, I forgot to press the button. Yeah, it is pretty wonderful and powerful interview with Auntie Lynn Warren. I'm proud Yorta woman and Wamba woman as well, elder. And it's approximately 4:54. And thank you to David Glantz also for coming onto the show. And I'm hoping that we do have Auntie back again. She was basically stolen and found out she was Aboriginal in her adulthood, and then her mother had passed. But now she's back with her mob, and that's some of the really fantastic stories that the Doin Time show will bring you. So it's goodbye from Marissa. We're nearing the end of our show. Stay tuned every Monday for the Doin Time show, and the show happens between 4 and 5. And thank you once again to our guests for coming onto the show and the wonderful contributions. And I'll see you next week. Stay safe and be kind to each other. Kindness costs nothing.
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast. If you found it valuable, please consider donating or subscribing to support independent community radio. To find out more, go to 3cr.org.au.